As we all know, Mokaev has been recently cut from the UFC. Dana White doesn't want to deal with him anymore. The UFC is completely done with Mokaev. They said he's going over to the PFL, and Mokaev opened up a little bit about the whole situation. I'm going to give my thoughts on it, and I would love to know, as always, what you guys think about this down below afterwards. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Let's start off by taking a look at this post from Mokaev. My dream is to become UFC champion. I turned them all down because UFC gave me the platform to put my name out there and earn money to feed my family. And by the way, PFL doesn't have a flyweight division. All these journalists that make this crap up are idiots. I hope Dana resigns me. This is my dream to become champion. And this actually comes from a couple posts, and might as well take a look at this. Mokaev's manager, Tim Simpson, tells me the rumor floating around is that the UFC exit was brought on by negotiations with the PFL while still under contract are completely false. So Dana White actually did mention about the PFL, but Mokaev didn't stop there. He continued to kind of be hopeful about that he's going to get a new contract. 4-0 against ranked opponents, 37 fight winning streak, never picked a fight, never missed weight, never pulled from a fight. I will be back sooner than you think. Thank you, UFC, for letting me compete against the best in the world on the biggest MMA platform. Alhamdulillah in any situation. This makes me any stronger. Thank you to all the true supporters out there. He had one more tweet after this. This is the first time I punched outside the cage. It was more personal. He was the one who headbutted 5 days before the Perez fight when I went to shake his hand in Vegas. I understand this is wrong and what happened at the hotel, and I apologize to the UFC. But there's some nights I didn't sleep because someone treated me like that. I've never been cheap shot on the streets. I will never let anyone bully me, and I never bullied anyone. But whatever, it happened, it happened. I don't want to keep going about it, but I will take a big lesson for it. So, it's still like, I don't know, man. I'm a little bit conflicted on how I feel about the whole thing. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that, but what about when Sean Strickland fights Dricus du Plessis in the stands? What about when Conor McGregor Conor McGregor's a special situation, but I don't think this is the biggest deal in the world. Yeah, what he did was a scumbag move, and if you guys don't know what Mokaev did, apparently he went up to Manel Cap and then said, like, hey, let's take a picture to be brothers, and I think he said something about religion, but he's like, hey, let's take a picture together. The beef is all good, and then he sucker punched Manel Cap there. And Dana White wasn't clear at all why Mokaev was cut, but it's something about the matchmakers. I don't know if he was turning down fights, but it didn't seem like he was a difficult guy to sign. I have no idea. And Mokaev said that the matchmakers were opened up about him, that they're going to cut him if he doesn't end up fighting a little bit more fun, and that's why he had a stand-up fight. I've always found him pleasant to watch, to be honest with you. I like grappling. I find it fascinating when guys are able to shut down other people by using their grappling. But I guess I understand from a business perspective. But anyways, let's take a look at what the MMA community had to say about this. Let's open up with a couple tweets from the top replies over to Mokaev. The Combat Sports Matrixer had this to say: the UFC needs to re-sign Mokaev. He's undefeated with 7 wins in the UFC, and 4 of his wins have been submissions, and at the top of all, he's only 23 years old. Name me another 23-year-old with a resume like Mokaev. The flyweight division can't afford to lose a talent like him. And that's kind of true. Like, the talent at flyweight is fantastic, and Mokaev is sticking out at 23 years old. I was fascinated watching him. I wanted to watch his career. I wanted to see him get his title fight. Never, ever have we seen a fighter get a title shot and be cut from the UFC. There's got to be something else going behind the scenes because it just doesn't make sense. Wouldn't the best way to get him back be by finishing him or dominating him in the cage instead of sucker punching him? Also, I don't think the UFC would care about it if the fight was exciting. Y'all basically just hyped up a product that's just for it to be bad. That's also true. That's also true. The UFC would have been a lot more happy with this if they actually went out and swung, because even before the fight was beginning, they were like in each other's face. Security had to go in. Before the fight started and Bruce Buffer was announcing them, they were trying to fight each other. And the actual fight started and they just stood there. I understand it's a technical battle and you need to be careful when you think, but you guys, neither of them put on the performance that was all hyped up to be. People were looking forward to this fight for so long, and it ended up being so boring. Fallon had this to say: it wasn't about that. It was the fact that you did all of that, then just stood in front of him for 5 minutes. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. It's the same kind of deal. It doesn't make any sense. He just stood in front of him and did nothing. Let's continue on to Elon Rakmanov. Although your recent fights have been boring, it does feel wrong to remove an undefeated fighter, and I think they should resign. Maybe chill in the drama and sucker punching, though, if you're going to end up having a below-average fights in the cage. But the problem is, drama works for so many other people. Even sucker punching would work for so many people. The UFC has been tolerant to this stuff in the past. The only thing that I can remember of Dana White not being tolerant about sucker punching is when it happened inside the cage when the fight was over. That makes sense. I think it was Paul Daly. That makes sense. That makes sense to cut somebody. But for a bunch of stuff outside of the UFC on the streets, I don't think it really matters. Look at all the different... What about John Jones, man? Why am I bringing up Conor McGregor? Why am I bringing up Sean Strickland, John Jones, and all the crap that he gets into? The dude beats up his wife and they don't cut him. I don't understand, like, it can't be about the sucker punching. That's where I'm sitting at. It has to have been something with the matchmakers. But where I'm stuck is he keeps fighting. It doesn't seem like, from an outside perspective, that there's really anything wrong with the way that he approaches the matchmakers. There must be something. There must be more to the story. Let's continue on to the CS Matrix here again. The UFC needs to stop acting like Mokaev punching Cape outside of the cage is the reason to cut him. Conor did worse. His actions actually injured somebody. DC and Jones also fought. Nobody was seriously hurt, and the fight was not compromised, so it's not a big deal. Fighters fight. Now, the thing is, you never know. It could have influenced Cape a little bit. He was cutting weight. If he got sucker punched, maybe he got flash. Like, I'm not saying he got flash KO, but, like, you could take a bunch of damage, and it could actually affect your performance if you get any, like, trauma to your head. But I can't see it because, again, Conor did worse. DC and Jones fought. I don't know, man. Like I said, there's got to be more to the story. Let's continue on to another post by Slick Rick's Picks. Maybe carry yourself in a better, more professional manner then. How many UFC fighters really carry themselves in a professional manner? Not a lot. I like the reply to this. You act as if hitting a pregnant lady during a hit and run while being drunk. So, like, that's exactly my point. We've seen so much worse, and the UFC didn't care about it, so I don't think it's about the sucker punch. The Starched had something to say to this as well. You did something to piss them off. There's always two sides to every story. Somewhere in the middle is the truth. We definitely are not getting the whole story, so these pleas are not going to go unheard, my man. So that's where I'm at. There's got to be more to this story. It's something that we don't know about, and this is where I wish Dana White would talk about it a little bit more. If he's open about, well, we're going to cut him, the PFL is going to get some great talent. I understand that we're not necessarily owed an explanation by the UFC and Dana White, but it would be nice to know why, like, somebody that had so much attention upon him and had such potential ended up getting cut from the sport when he was undefeated, beating all the top contenders. Yeah, bro, we're hoping you get re-signed too, but I think the UFC doesn't like all the antics leading to the fight, and then you guys go out there and just look at each other for the first 5 minutes. They want killers who take risk. Just stay quiet and keep working, and I'm sure you'll be back in the UFC if you keep winning. Sucks, but you may have talked and acted your own dream to death. So, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. The thing that I do like is that he can absolutely make his way back into the UFC. We've seen this many, many times with different fighters who get cut from the UFC. They make their way back and then accomplish great things. Just look at Brandon Moreno, for example. I understand that's a little bit of an outlier, but we've seen people come and go from the UFC. Mohamed Mokaev is 23 years old. If he leaves and finds another flyweight division, because actually, off the top of my head, I don't know if the PFL also has a flyweight division. I don't think they do. But regardless, I'm sure there's a flyweight division somewhere. He can leave. He can go get some ranked wins because he's going to dominate outside of the UFC besides, like, maybe one championship. One championship has some amazing fighters over there. But rack up some wins. Keep grinding. Keep trying to get back into the UFC. And even by 25, maybe 27, I'm sure this dude can make it back in the UFC, especially if he keeps remaining active. It's a little bit unfortunate, man, because I enjoyed watching Mohamed Mokaev. I still enjoy watching Mohamed Mokaev. I hate the idea that you sucker punch somebody just because, like, the way that he approached that. Hey, let's be friends, and then you just punch somebody. Like, what is that? But at the end of the day, I loved watching him fight. I know it's an outrageous opinion to have for some people, but I did. I really, really enjoyed his performances. I really enjoyed him fighting, and I'm sure we will see him back. Regardless, I will follow this dude where he goes into any other promotion, and I hope that he makes it back into the UFC someday, guys. Let me know what you think about the entire situation down below. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. On the screen right now, if you want to continue taking a look at what MMA community has to say about something, you can check out this recent video with some Twitter drama right here, guys. I will see you over there or in the next video. Take care.